So with all of that, and that was a lot, and I know that we've only got about 10 minutes here before we are closing out. Um, what questions, if any, do you all have? And yeah, how can Heidi and I help? I'm just gonna skip here to this final page there with our contact information, just so if people need, they can reach out and see our emails and whatnot. But yeah, are there any questions from anybody right now? And if not, that is totally okay too. Yeah, Bobby.
Hi, I have a quick question about um, contacting my legislators with other constituents in their
Mhm.
district. Are you going to group us up so that we could maybe team up in trying to schedule a meeting or attend a coffee with our legislator?
Absolutely. Yeah. So that first, I guess, spreadsheet that we just threw you all into at the very beginning there is going to kind of be our home base. So as people are typing their names in, and you type your name in, you might see that there are other people in your same district, whether that's a House rep or a senator. From there, then yes, that's why those emails are also being put in there, so that people can reach out within those groups and meet together. We don't necessarily uh, if you feel confident to go by yourself and you want to go by yourself and you're fine with that, that is totally normal, and that is your prerogative, and you're totally welcome to. And if you'd rather meet with other people in your groups and go with them, totally all right as well. But yeah, that will be the meeting point for that. Um, yeah, hope that answers the question.
Great, thanks, Matt.
Yeah, yeah, Mac.
So one of the things I was wondering about is a lot of this is focused on legislators who are somewhat more sympathetic to the climate cause, in terms of legislators or someone like our governor who may be more anti some of the anti-climate change policies that we're pushing for. How do we really like tackle them?
Yeah, I'll give kind of a concise answer, and then I honestly, Heidi, if you're ready to go, I think you're more apt to answer this one.
Well, I can hop in there. I'll give it
Okay.
a whirl here. Um, that's a really, really good question because it seems to be turned into a political and sort of, uh, yeah, a political issue where people just kind of hang with their group. But it's still really important if you have somebody who is you think is against these kind of policies, it's still really important for them to hear that their constituents want want action and that it's important to them. And as Senator Cutter was saying, it's all, of course, always be very respectful and so that they appreciate you as a person and try to convey your points uh, in a respectful way. But it is very important for them to hear that their constituents want climate action because they might not know that a lot of their constituents do. Um, but in terms of like the types of points to make, you may find the economic points to be more successful than any other points. And try to pull out what economic things you can find in the resources that we're going to provide and make those be um, some of your talking points, is what I would suggest.
Yeah,
And you
and
could also like also just find out their thoughts and then like have a conversation with them so you know where they're coming from or why they don't think it's a good idea. And then you'll have some more sort of background to come back and strategize and see, well, how can I sway them if that's even possible? But there are actually a lot of Republicans that are really concerned about climate change and want action. And they might not know that. So that's a resource maybe we could help you find.
yeah, and just to build on that as well, we really want to urge people to get to know these legislators as well, and not necessarily to say that like you're going to be best buds or anything like that, but you might realize that one of I'm not going to even use a name, I'm just going to say that, maybe a Republican legislator, grew up farming and is really ingrained in farming roots, and is noticing that there's a major drought going on and that there are water issues out there. And if you're able to show that person time and time again that the link between rising temperatures and drier conditions is linked with climate change, and is affecting that, to mitigate future harm, you might be able to get through to them that way. So it's just, there are so many different avenues, and there's so many different soft spots for every different legislator out there. And yeah, I think everybody on some level has something close to home that, yeah, you realize is being impacted by climate change.
Perfect. Thank you.
Totally. Yeah, and if you don't have any other questions right now, but a question pops up later on, feel free to shoot Heidi or I an email. I think if you do have any questions that you maybe don't want answered right now, but you are curious about, you can also just type them in the chat. Heidi and I are going to kind of answer as many what we would assume to be like FAQs, like frequently asked questions, as possible, and post that also as a resource document. So if, yeah, in the near future you have any questions at all, don't be afraid to reach out. And yeah, the last thing that we really wanted to kind of gauge with this group is, yeah, when it comes to being able to talk about these things and having a space for this, Heidi and I, obviously, I have a legislative action committee call that's currently still monthly, but will become bi-weekly as we get closer to the legislative session, meeting on that first and third Monday of the month. And I know Heidi has a climate policy committee that I think also follows a similar schedule. Is that right, Heidi?
Yes, my committee meets bi-weekly on Mondays at 6 p.m. and we will be meeting next week is our next meeting, next Monday.
Yeah, and mine will also be, I think, next Monday at 5 p.m. And the Legislative Action Committee always meets at 5. But so we're always there, I guess, is my point in saying that. And going to be talking about different bits of legislation and getting into, the nitty gritty of that once we have our, bills all spelled out that we want to go for this year. But what do you all feel would you get the most out of with this in terms of a regular meeting time? Do we think this is a group that would want to meet once a month and compare notes of, oh, here's what so-and-so said? Do we think that this group would rather meet quarterly? Would we want to meet what schedule, if any, sounds best to you all? And if something is piquing your interest and you think that it would make the most sense, feel free to either raise your hand and chat about it, or can drop it in the chat. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to read the room on that, and we have about a bunch of other people too that we'll send out the same question to. But yeah, just wondering.
Fun to meet. Yeah, I guess gauging, like, do we need to compare notes? If the legislators are, talking to each other, if they're voting, in sync with each other, if it doesn't really matter, if we need to compare notes with each other on how other talks are going, how other people are, how their meetings are going or not, if that's important.
Yeah, and I feel like the overarching, I guess, full scheme of it all. Heidi and I think, will be doing a lot of the overall inferring, I guess, of seeing what a lot of these conversations, what's happening with them, and being able to pull, different bits of data out of that as well. And then also what we, I guess, really wanted to, I guess, offer up with that is if there was a meeting space I feel like sometimes it's just nice to be able to communicate those conversations and what happened, I guess not in person, but over a Zoom call, I guess, like where we're here and we're talking about it. So I just didn't know if that would be something that, you or someone else would be interested in, just to, so this happened and I just didn't know how to react to this. And we might be able to, help guide the conversation or, provide more materials. I feel like meeting at some point is something that I'd like to do personally. But yeah, I guess the frequency of that is really up to you all.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
appreciate that because I don't know what a normal conversation with a legislator is supposed to be like. So that doesn't answer your
yeah,
question about frequency.
yeah. Well, you know what I feel like we could just kind of run with, and we'll chat with all the other people that have registered to be a part of this project as well. But um, I figure at least for the first couple months while we're getting it going, Heidi, it makes sense to maybe meet once a month and just check in and see how everybody's doing.
Um, yeah, maybe even more frequently since we're hoping that people um, are going to be meeting during October and November.
Yeah,
And even if everybody doesn't come, like Jamie said, it might be good, sort of good moral support for people to
yeah.
be able to bounce ideas off each other and sort of hear how it's going. And um, the kind of thing where people can come if they want, if it's supportive for them, but not necessarily required.
I like that. Yeah, optional. If people want to attend, they are more than welcome to. Uh, Perfect. Okay. I think for the first couple of weeks here, let's maybe I'll send out a call every other week. I figure it makes the most sense to keep a similar time slot. Uh, so yeah, I'll plan to do that and maybe try to get it so it's not smack dab in the middle of Bobby's fracking action committee. Um, but yeah, I'll send that out. I've got everyone's emails since you've all RSVP'd to be a part of this, and we are really excited that you are. And it's only going to keep growing, and it'll kind of culminate at Climate Lobby Day, and then we'll be able to fully build during next off season as well. Getting to those legislators super, super early, like Senator Cutter was talking about, and being able to talk about these things and get bills in there really, really early on. There's still a lot of room for that, I think. But there's so many different House reps and legislators and senators out there. But yeah, with all that being said, just really wanted to say thank you for being here. Thank you for viewing if you're watching online. And yeah, really hoping to see you in the future and see how this project takes off. But yeah, Heidi, any kind of closing remarks before we shut it down?
Oh, thanks, Matt. Well, everyone, thank you so much for being here. And I just want to just say how important I see that this is because we've just really seen that if it's not their area, they don't realize the urgency and they don't realize how many people are really interested in this. And so um, we see this as a way to combat that and to really make it a high priority and make it politically important for them. So thanks again for being here. And I hope you'll tell all your friends about this and get more people involved because we can really make a difference.
Absolutely.